Bücher. Der Lübbe Audio-Podcast.
Hallo, mein Name ist Lori Herber. Ich arbeite bei Bestseller als Lektorin im internationalen Bereich und heute habe ich die große Ehre, mit Shari Lapena zu reden, die Autorin von dem Bestseller-Buch The Couple Next Door. I'm here today talking to the best-selling author, Shari Lapena, and she is here to chat with us at Bestseller about her book, The Couple Next Door. I'm going to be asking her a few questions about the book, about herself, and I'm ready if you are.
I'm ready.
Okay. If you don't mind starting off, kind of just giving a quick synopsis, if you could, of the book, just a couple of sentences, if somebody hasn't read it yet. How would you describe it?
Okay, it's a story about a couple who leaves their newborn baby at home alone to go next door to a birthday party, and they take the baby monitor with them, and they check on her every half an hour, and they think that she's going to be fine. But when they go home at 1 o'clock, the baby has disappeared, and the story takes on from there. Who took the baby? And how culpable are the parents for having left their child at home by herself?
Well, that's a big question, too. How much hate mail have you gotten from sanctimummies and...
I personally have not received any hate mail. I mean, the mother, Anne, in the book receives a ton. I've stayed out of the whole what's a good parent, but when pressed, I have said I don't leave my kids at home. I never did.
Okay. Well,
but I don't want anyone angry at me for
Right.
having said that, because it is a hot-button issue.
Yeah, I think it is a very plausible situation as well. They are next-door neighbors. They're going
with
over.
an adjoining wall, so it's
right.
really the same house.
Yeah. Well, this is a really classic whodunit, only I think it has much more modern twist on it. I mean, what do you think it is about this particular story that has been so successful and resonated so well with readers?
Oh, well, I have to say it has been quite a surprise how much it has resonated with people. I hear from a lot of people about this book, and I think it's the setup. I think it's the situation of where a young couple has apparently quite innocently left their child at home with the best of intentions. Their babysitter left them in the lurch at the last minute. They couldn't get another one. They'd been told by the host next door to not bring the baby because it was to be a child-free night. They thought they were okay bringing the monitor. They think they've got everything covered, and then the worst possible thing happens. So I think we're all kind of interested or transfixed by the idea of making some small error in judgment and then having something really terrible happen. I mean, who leaves their kid at home and thinks they're going to be kidnapped? You just don't think that's going to happen.
Right, but unfortunately for this couple it did.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, how did you manage to portray this couple where some might find this couple to be irresponsible, but you somehow manage for the reader to feel empathy for the couple? How did you...
Well, I had to do that quite carefully because I didn't want the reader saying, ugh, I hate this couple for what they've done. They deserve what they get. So I was careful to make it more of a gray area. So they did do everything that they thought they needed to do. They'd hired a babysitter. It wasn't their fault she canceled. They brought the monitor over. They did check on her every 30 minutes. I tried to make it a bit of a gray area. I still have a lot of people sending emails saying those terrible parents, those terrible parents. But on the other hand, everywhere I go, someone has a story, either I left my kid for 2 minutes to get the mail, or I thought about leaving my kid for 2 minutes to take the dog out, or, everyone's thought about it or done it, or they say I did it, but I'd never do it again. I've had people tell me stories about having one person told me they had a dinner party and the parents came and left the kid at home with the monitor, and it was more than 2 houses down the street. And what they did was they rushed through dinner so the parents would go home. So it does happen. People do leave their kids, and I had another person in publishing say that they were going to leave their child across the hall at another apartment and go across the hall with the monitor to watch a movie, and they decided not to do that.
After they read the book.
Yeah. So, and people, how much care is too much care? I mean.
For you, you mentioned you have kids as well. How difficult was this for you as a mother to imagine this type of situation?
It wasn't hard to imagine. I mean, I wouldn't leave my kids alone in a house, an infant, because, I would worry more about fire than kidnapping. But, I mean, it's not hard. I don't think any parent has any trouble imagining something happening to their kids. Like we all walk around worried sick all the time. So, I as a parent, it's not hard for me to imagine something awful happening. I tend to be the nervous kind of mother. They're older now, so I don't worry as much. Or maybe I worry more. I'm not sure.
For different reasons.
For different reasons, yeah.
So I have to ask, where on earth did you even get this idea? I mean, it's such a brilliantly told story with so many twists along the way. You think you figured it out, and then, bam. What inspired you?
I have been asked a lot about where I got the idea, and it just popped into my head one day. I mean, I live in an attached house myself, so I can hear a lot of what goes on next door. So I don't know, it just popped into my head. Who can say where ideas come from? But as soon as I thought of it, I thought, oh, this is a great idea. And if I give the mother postnatal depression, that makes it better. And then if I make it the husband's idea to leave the child at home at the last minute and the mother doesn't like it, I think, well, that's better still. So it had a lot of possibilities.
A lot of conflict going on between characters.
Yeah. And, I like to start with a premise that has a lot of ways it could go. And, then I can follow them all. And then sort of towards the end, I decide which one is the real one and which ones are the red herrings. And, so I thought that situation had a lot of potential.
Yeah, it certainly does. And now with domestic noir thrillers, our readers are just voraciously reading this genre right now. So it fits.
It seems certainly. So. Yeah. Now, I didn't choose it for that reason. It's just that I'm a housewife and I'm at home and I don't have a background in CIA, analysis. So it felt natural to me to write domestic noir.
Well, you had experience. You had been a lawyer and an English teacher. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was a lawyer quite a long time ago. I did not enjoy being a lawyer. It was not me. I'm much more on the creative side. And law is a demanding career for a woman, Yeah. So I became an English teacher after I was a lawyer, which suits me much better.
So how did you transition from being an English teacher to now being an author?
Well, it was just, in a way it was preordained, I suppose. I ended up staying home with my children. And because I stayed home with my kids for many years, I was finally able to find the time to write because I'd wanted to write all my life, but I was too busy becoming a lawyer and a teacher to actually write anything of my own. But then when I was home, I started writing when the kids were napping. So, yeah.
Oh, lucky. They're nappers.
They were good nappers.
Good.
And I was very lucky, and I learned how to write 1,000 words in 3 hours.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
What is important to you in creating characters? Because the personalities in the couple next door are all very distinct and very different people. What's important to you when you create someone?
Oh, dear. Well, it's sort of a natural process, I think. I get into their minds and they kind of grow on their own. I don't normally start out with a set idea. Like I don't have a page where I say where I write down what they look like and what they do. They just kind of grow naturally out of the situation. So I find I start with a little bit of a character, like with Anne. I knew she would have postnatal depression, but I didn't know very much about her otherwise. And then I find as the story goes on, the story affects her development. And then given the kind of character she is, she affects how the plot develops. So it's a very organic process. The character shapes the plot, and then the plot shapes the character. And yeah, because when I started, I knew she had postnatal depression, but I didn't know she had other issues until I was farther in.
Okay.
And I didn't know that, I don't want to do any spoilers, but I didn't know that everyone in the book had issues that I didn't know what they were.
But they revealed themselves to you as you went along further.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think makes a really good page turner? A lot of people are saying, the couple next door, I can't put it down. I read it in 2 days. Some even less time. What are these magic ingredients?
I don't know. It's very gratifying to me to hear that because when I decided to write it, my primary goal was to write a page turner. I wanted it to be really fast. And I come from a background of literary fiction, dark comedy, and speed wasn't the focus. So how did I do it? I think the mind is very curious and we want to know. So I think if you are going to write a thriller, you need to have the person who's reading interested in what's going to happen next. But I think with a thriller, it's not just what's going to happen next; it's what's already happened before. So it's the balance between reading forward to see what's going to happen and getting the reveals of what's happened before. It's all about how you reveal the information to the reader for maximum suspense. So I think it's when you reveal certain information makes for the best suspense.
You mentioned literary fiction, a background in dark comedy. Did these influence you in writing The Couple Next Door? Or what would some of your influences be, would you say?
I wouldn't say the dark comedies influenced my thrillers, but I certainly learned how to write well when I was writing my other novels. Because writing, you have to learn through writing. So I learned the craft. And then when I had the basic craft, then I had to learn how to write a thriller, which is quite a different thing. And I have to say, for the record, it's much harder to write a thriller than to write a non-thriller. There, I've said it.
Oh, what makes it so much more difficult?
The plotting and the pacing in a thriller. It's a tough thing to get right, and it takes a tremendous amount of work. For me, anyway. I mean, I think they're not easy to do, you know. People think thrillers are easy, but they're not.
I believe I read in an interview with you, you had sent the manuscript to one agent. And
That's right.
Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
Yeah, everyone's fascinated with this part of it. Okay, so I wrote a thriller, mostly because I was getting tired of what I was writing. And sometimes when I get bored with what I'm writing, I'll try a new genre. Like I wrote some kids' books for fun for my kids. And I'd always wanted to write a thriller because I love to read thrillers. But I didn't think it was my natural voice because I have more of a comedic voice, I thought, but apparently I'm quite murderous. So anyway, I thought I would do this thriller for fun, and I just started it, and I didn't tell anyone what I was doing, which is what I usually do. And I didn't tell my husband, and he thought I was working away at some new literary thing. And then I said, I've written a thriller. And he goes, oh, really? And I sent it to Helen Heller because she's the best thriller agent in Canada, the only good thriller agent in Canada. And I sent it to her one evening on email, and she read it, the first portion of it. And then she phoned me the next morning, and she said, she emailed me the next morning. She said, can I have your phone number? And, I emailed my husband saying, oh, my God, she wants my phone number. She must hate it. And then he emailed me back, and he said, she wouldn't bother getting your phone number if she hated it. And I thought, but she hasn't had enough time to read it. Anyway, I gave her my phone number. She called me. She said, I love it. We have to have coffee. So we met that morning for coffee. And then I signed with her over coffee, and then she went to New York. Yeah. And
okay,
then
what did you feel like meeting her for the first time? What, sweaty palms, nervous, or
it was
relaxed?
Odd. It was odd because I'd already had a few agents with my other books, so I wasn't wide-eyed and dewy about meeting an agent. I've had agents before. I've had agents take me from other agents. I wasn't a newbie, so I didn't have the sweaty palms. I thought, oh, interesting. She likes it, but I've had agents before say, oh, I can sell this to a big American house, and it didn't happen. So, I was pleased that she liked it. So we met, and I knew that for a thriller, she was the right person to have. So she said, I'm going to New York in a couple of days, and I'll show this around a little bit, just not the whole thing, just a couple of chapters. So she went to New York, and I remember I was at the Royal Winter Fair, which is a big horse show that we have in Toronto. And she phoned me, and she said, oh, they love it. Can you send the rest? And so I did, and then she had a preempt, I think, within a few days in New York with Viking. And then all the auctions started, all over Europe, lots of auctions. And it's sold, I think, in close to 30 countries now.
Congratulations.
So she's a very good agent.
Well, if she has good stuff to work with, then, wow, congratulations. It sounds like a fairy tale, really.
Yeah, it does seem like a fairy tale. And people say, oh, you're such an overnight success. But I've been writing for 18 years. So, a long night.
The persistence paid off.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the rare person who writes a book, who writes their first book that does that. I mean, it takes a while to learn how to write a book.
So was The Couple Next Door always the original title?
Yeah. Funnily enough, I came up with that title. Okay. And everyone's misunderstood the title. That title was meant to refer to Anne and Marco, the primary characters. Meaning, the couple next door, anybody could leave their baby home alone for half an hour. And everyone's interpreted to focus on Cynthia and Graham, the other couple next door on the other side of the wall. And it works both ways.
I admit I did too.
Yeah, it works both ways. And I have to say, my next book is called A Stranger in the House. And it also works in two ways, which I won't give away at this point. But there are two ways you can read that title.
Oh, well, that's great.
I didn't come up with the second title.
Oh,
That was
okay.
my publisher.
I'm sure you've seen the different covers. You've got a UK cover, and then we've also got the North American cover that's in Canada and US. Do you have a favorite, or how did these two
For
different...
A Couple Next Door?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're both fabulous covers. They work differently in different markets. Actually, there's quite a few different covers. I mean, Iceland has a really groovy cover, and Korea has a different cover, and many of the European countries have gone with the UK cover, different languages, and some have done their own, and then
That's
the
what
US.
we did in Germany.
Yeah.
We have the blue cover.
Yeah, with an English title, I noticed.
Yeah,
and then a German subhead.
Yeah,
very cool.
That's a trend here to simply take the English title over, so it can be a little confusing for shoppers, but it is kind of cool to have the same title, though.
Yeah.
And so many people speak English here. So.
I've noticed, yeah.
So is this your first time in Germany?
Not really. I was here 20 or 30 years ago, not to date myself too much, with backpacking. I haven't been back since I was a student, so it's lovely. It's lovely to come back and not have a backpack.
Do you have any plans while you're here? I understand you'll be doing a reading in Cologne.
Yeah, so tomorrow we're going to go to the Munich Crime Festival, so I'll be doing a reading there, and then I believe the next day we'll be going to Cologne Lit Fest.
Okay.
Yeah.
And aside from the readings, is there anything you really want to do while you're here?
Well, I've been joking about eating a lot of cake, so I've been having a lot of cake and strudel. I just like to sightsee, look around. Yeah.
Well, we've got good weather right now, so compared to what you've got at home.
Yeah.
You did mention your forthcoming book, and are you able to give us any teasers about what we can expect?
I can. It's called A Stranger in the House, and it's supposed to be out next summer. It's another domestic noir. What can I say about it? It's a husband and wife. The wife's been up to something. The husband doesn't really quite know what. There's a nosy neighbor. What could possibly go wrong? It's a page turner.
Yeah,
I think.
Sounds like a good recipe for
disaster.
Your book will come out in Germany the 16th of March. Is there anything in particular you'd like to say to your German readers?
Just enjoy the book. I hope you like it. Send me emails. I love to get emails. I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, well, let's
I
see.
hear that Germans like their crime fiction, so show me.
That is true. I'll take a quick look at our list here. I'll see if there's anything I left out on our team. I did forget something. I was going to ask you if you could tell us some of your favorite books. You also read a lot of crime, suspense, thrillers. What are your top three?
Oh, my top three. Oh, goodness. Well, I guess I've loved all the ones everyone's loved, like Girl on the Train, Gone Girl. I like Ruth Ware. I like Fiona Barton. I grew up reading Agatha Christie and Josephine Tay and Phyllis Whitney. Like all this, any suspense, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, those kinds of books. Like Sharon Bolton. I like.
Who are you reading right now?
Right now, I'm reading the new Fiona Barton called The Child, and right before that, I read the new Paula Hawkins called Into the Water. They're both great books.
Okay.
And before that, I read a new one that's coming out called, right before this, I read Mary Torgeson's book called, I forget, it's really good.
Maybe we can edit it
Without a Trace. It's called Without a Trace. I don't know when it's coming out. It was really good. I read Joseph Knox's Sirens. That was brilliant, very dark.
That cover fits it very well then.
Yeah. Well, Sirens are the women who go around collecting money for the drug dealers in Manchester. Oh. It's a very dark book.
Okay.
It's not one that I would write because it's very well, I guess mine's kind of dark. Mine's dark in a playful way, I think. I don't know, but his is very real, very realistic, grim stuff. Woman in Cabin 10, I really enjoyed that. I'm also reading some Agatha Christie because I always love to go back and reread those. What else have I read lately? I'm so bad at remembering what I'm reading. Kate Atkinson, I'm a big fan of her. Yeah, so there's a few.
Do you read all of the emails people send you?
I do.
Okay.
They usually go to my agent, and then she sends them to me. And then I read them, and I get a lot of emails through my website. I answer those. I try to answer all of them. If I'm on a deadline, I might miss some or be slow.
I'm sure that keeps you busy. What's one of the most surprising or strangest comments you've ever gotten?
Oh, that's a good one. I got an email from a guy who said he was 87 and he loved my book. And he said, could you hurry up and write the next one because I don't know how much longer I'm going to live. And then he said, would you marry me? That was a weird one. And if you're listening, no, that was odd.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever heard of that one before. But is there anything you'd like to add? Anything you feel might just round out the interview today?
Oh, I don't think so. You've asked such good questions. No, just I'm really enjoying being here in Germany, and I'm very happy that the book's gone to so many European countries. Maybe I'll get to visit them all.
Yeah. Well, welcome. We're very happy to have you here today and at Bestseller, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your stay.
Thank you very much.
Das war's dann für heute. Das Buch The Couple Next Door kommt am 16. März raus. Also holt euch doch eine Kopie. Das Buch ist super, habe ich selber gelesen. Kann ich euch nur empfehlen. Wir würden uns sehr freuen, wenn ihr uns abonniert oder, falls ihr uns bei iTunes hört, könnt ihr uns eine nette Bewertung geben.
Das war's für heute von uns. Bis zum nächsten Mal beim Lübbe Audio Podcast.